Okay, welcome back. We are here with more Novel Bootcamp, wrapping up this session with final lab and editing advice. This is the conclusion. This is the last bootcamp class of the year, actually, because this is finishing off our session for 2025. We actually restarted this one about halfway through, so you got like a bootcamp and a half for this one, wrapping up the year, hopefully getting towards that point of finishing your book and moving on to the next one. All right. So we will just start with a simple check-in. We usually look at this as I used to call this the pizza party class, I guess because when I used to teach at summer camps, on the last day of the programs, we would always have the pizza party, watch a movie, bring in the sodas and snacks and things like that, and kind of just celebrate how far we've come and the accomplishments we've made and the all the progress that we made in either in finishing our book or maybe if you abandoned your project or swapped halfway or something like that than the progress you made in some other kind of way. Maybe you've learned stuff, maybe you feel you're getting better at something. Maybe when we do our check-ins, you can tell us if you finished your project or how far along you are, so just your updates and your progress, but also maybe tell us what progress you think you've made this year. What have you been learning? What have you been growing at? What have you been improving at? What are you proud of? All right, let's start with Becky.
Um, so uh, I've been rereading my murder mystery because I've got to edit it for the 15th January, so doing work on that, and then also trying to come up with other story ideas. So today I was thinking about the Atlantic one, the sorry, Antarctica one that I mentioned to you yesterday. Um, and I also came up with another kind of potential idea of maybe a kind of King Arthur story, but told in the future. So it's sort of the King Arthur legend, but futuristic with future tech. So maybe the pulling the sword out of the stone is some kind of um, AI or computer thing. I haven't worked it out yet, but that's kind of a concept I like the idea of. So those are two potential ideas that I'm looking at developing. I've got until the 15th of January to get this next draft done and sent off to my editor. And that's just going through doing setting, more of the setting. And then on the 30th of January is when I'm going to this event where I'm going to be meeting potential agents, where I need to have this pitch, but also be able to pitch two other potential stories. So I'm just kind of thrashing them out so they're more of a solid idea, but obviously not gonna necessarily write them straight away. So um how did I grow as a writer this year? I think I've gained confidence. Um so going through this process of looking at actually, getting published. I've been surrounded by other published authors, people either like me at this stage or they've been published, and kind of realizing this is kind of the thing that I've learned. Um, Realizing that the ups and downs, the feeling really positive and then being really anxious are always going to be there because there's always going to be something to be anxious about, and it's accepting that. So, you know, yay, I have been accepted on the mentoring stage and I'm like 6 months away from it being sent out to the publishers. Or but what if they actually decide they don't want it? But even then, it would be, say they want it, then it would be, I don't know, will this book do well enough for them to even want a second or want to work with me again? What if I have really bad sales and it completely destroys my career? Or it sells really well. What if my next book can't meet that? Like, there's always going to be those anxieties.
Mhm.
I think that's part of the process of being a writer, or no matter what stage you're at. And I'm in a writing group with some very successful writers, and I met with them on Tuesday, I think it was, and all they did was moan about how unsuccessful they are. Like, one of them's got a book in a supermarket, one of them's writing Jellycat books, and they just kind of because they're always looking at um other people are bigger. So the one who's, in shops, she's like, yeah, but I don't sell as well as this really famous picture book writer. It'd be like as a writer constantly comparing ourselves to J.K. Rowling, and going, well, I'm not as successful as her. It's sort of like that's what it just feels like. So I think I'm going to um remember how far I've come. I think it's important for all of us. Remember, if you finished a novel, well, that's great. So many people don't even manage to finish their novel. Um, if you've had like you kind of getting people having full manuscript requests, that's amazing. That you have no idea how amazing that is. So it's kind of that um trying to stay positive even when it's hard sometimes because it's a hard job. You want to make a career out of writing, it's a hard job. But yeah, I think I'm proud of the fact that I think I'm growing as a writer, growing in confidence, and kind of just accepting that all those emotions, both positive and negative, are all just part of it.
Thanks, Becky. It's a good perspective. Let's hear from
Yeah,
Dakota.
it's not always going to be
Oh,
like
okay.
that. I was going to say it's not always going to be like that. Sometimes I'll just be down, but you know what it's like.
Yeah, you've got the right idea right now, I think. You have to maybe like put it on a post-it note or something so that in the hard times you
Yeah,
kind of remember it.
yeah, good idea. I'll do that.
Let's hear from Dakota.
Yeah, big fan of post-it note mantras for sure.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, no, I mean, I'm fairly confident, I think. Like I'm very happy with the progress I've made. I'm nowhere near finished, but at the same time, uh, this is the longest thing that I've written in a very long time. Um, and it's something that I'm pretty consistent at in terms of like the
Are you
pace in terms of how I'm writing it. So it's not it is a slower process for me, but it's at least a process and a progress that I didn't even think I would be able to even do. So I'm very proud of that. Um, I think that, looking back uh, this entire year. I'm very proud of the things that that I've done creatively.
Can I pause you
I
just for
had
one sec? I'm so sorry to cut you off. I just heard Joyce not having not, or maybe having an audio issue. Joyce, can you hear us okay? Okay, I think she maybe lost her connection. That
no,
could
no,
be
no,
it.
I just connected. Thank you. Thank you
Oh,
for
okay.
checking.
no, no, no,
No
no, that's
problem.
fine.
Okay,
No,
go ahead,
that's fine.
Dakota.
No, 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 you're good. I was just saying, like, I'm very proud creatively. Like a year and a half ago, like I didn't even think I would get this far, and I'm even further along than I have been. I got, you know, a lot of things under my belt now. I feel more confident in descriptions. I feel, more confident in my screenplays. Like there's a lot of good momentum going into the new year. Um, I think the thing that I've learned the most is to just kind of um, is to understand that um, it is okay to uh, take a step back and to really think about what is going to make you happy. Um, and just, just just understanding that, you know, breaks are necessary
Mhm.
and that you can't do everything at once. You just can't. You every day has the same amount of time. It's only 24 hours. And what you choose to spend those 24 hours is up to you. Um, so I think that just kind of, coming to terms with, yeah, I can't get everything done that I want to, but as long as progress is being made, then that's at least something. And I think that that's perfectly fine and reasonable to do. Um, and I think the other thing is just um, learning to embrace your Longfellow seasons, right? Like if you're going through like difficult times, um, then definitely take care of yourself. But you have to, but you can use that to have something beautiful come out of them. You can make a difficult thing into a positive thing. And that's been very, very helpful for me this year for sure.
Awesome. Lots of good lessons there. Thank you for that. Glad you feel you've been improving, getting more confident. Hopefully everyone's still making good use of these boot camps. We do. We're this whole year, or for the past several years, really, we've done 3 of these a week. In the new year, we are paring down a little bit. There won't be 3 boot camps a week. There's going to be 1 screenwriting boot camp and a novel boot camp. It's not going to be separate for movies and TV, at least for a bit. We're trying that out and trying to make sure that we can continue doing these programs as best we can and for as many people as we can. But always our goal is that you can continue to improve and learn and build that confidence, and just really more than anything, just finish stuff. Like just building output is so much. It like if you don't even build confidence, that's okay as long as you're finishing stuff, I guess I would say. So yeah, let us know how we can we're always looking to, Nacho and I are always looking to improve that and improve the quality of what we're doing here, and help everyone as much as we can. Let's hear from our last few. We have Joyce. Are you still having an okay connection? Can you hear us okay right now?
Yeah, I hear you perfectly, thanks. So I would say my progress this week is I'm actually on chapter 10, so I'm about 30,000 words in. Normally my novels are like kind of low 60s, so I feel like I'm at the halfway point. Would have been better if I were done, but I feel like I'm moving forward. One of the things that I felt like I grew as a writer this year is I got better on my settings. And although it sort of stalled me, focusing on like the development and what makes sense and what's consistent early on, I think helped me not have these big major rewrites and trying to fix it in all chapters. But I just read Bird by Bird, and you've kind of alluded to this a lot, and actually a lot of things I've read. It's okay to have that first shitty draft. And I'm kind of a perfectionist, and so I finally clicked when I was reading her book about it's okay to have a first shitty draft. It's like it finally sunk in. So I told, like people in my writing group, and I just said all these next chapters are going to be really, really shitty, and I'm not going to go back and clean them up until I'm done. And so, so I feel really good about that finally sunk in, which I think it was pretty huge for me, especially, kind of not wanting to, polish and polish and polish and read and analyze, so that was big strides for me. And I'm really proud of it.
Great.
So,
I think it's so important to focus on like some sort of uh like validation system that you can get from yourself, rather than needing to get validation from somewhere else while you're working on something, which is the problem I see all the time running a group like this, where this is a writing group problem potentially, where someone is getting feedback on every chapter every week, and then they're either making changes constantly or they just feel like they're always messing it up because they're showing unfinished brand new work, and unfinished brand new work is not that good, and unfinished brand new work will get lots of notes, and then they get paralyzed because they're like, well, if everything is bad, what's the point in finishing this, right? So I think
yeah.
understanding how to manage that like sense of input is really important for writers. Writing something as long as this is the longest thing most people will ever write. This is like a novel is the longest kind of document most people will ever do, right? Like even research papers are not this long. So it takes a lot of, it's like the challenges are largely psychological for getting through this. And it can be tough if you take in too many opinions too early. So I try to recommend people, even if you're in writing groups, like don't take that try not to let that opinion and feedback from writing groups impact you too much from week to week. If it is affecting your ability to continue and it's like causing you to second guess or be too much of that perfectionist. So it sounds like you're addressing the core of that and understanding the root of that issue.
Thank you. Sorry, I got somebody that just rang my doorbell, but I'm gonna put you guys on pause or me on hold. And thank you, thank you.
Okay, no problem. Thanks, Jess. All right, Luke, go ahead.
Oh, I'm up. Um, okay. I want to say, Connor, that these boot camps are extremely, extremely helpful. So that's kind of my feedback. Um, so I will say that during this boot camp, I didn't finish my novel. I actually only wrote one chapter, but I want to say maybe I should explain why that's a good thing. Um, so not to get too TMI, but I had some health issues last year, and since then I hadn't really been able to write. I was kind of afraid to look at my old writing because I was like, I just kind of knew I couldn't write at that level anymore. Um, but this boot camp kind of forced me to do that. It wasn't a bad thing, it was a good thing. And I realized that, I was intimidated by my old work, but it wasn't like as good as I thought it was, like as um unreachable as I thought it was. Um, and so I'm less intimidated by that now. And I'm more comfortable writing. Honestly, at the beginning of the year, it was kind of a question as to whether I could still write. Uh, I originally I even had trouble, reading at a certain point. Like it was just I could only read for 1 to 2 minutes at a time. Um, but I feel like I've recovered, but emotionally I've also recovered from that to the point where I can read and write again. So it's been great, and I don't think I would have done this without the boot camp. So
Great.
just letting you know.
Okay, well, yeah, you're the only one that can measure your own progress and can assess, what actually is progress and what isn't. And even one chapter can be huge if there's been some blockage or something stopping you, something getting in the way. So glad to hear that.
Exactly. Exactly.
Thanks, Lou. Otto, do you want to tell us on your, well, this is our sort of like novel bootcamp wrap-up class. If you haven't been working on or finishing a novel, that's okay, but maybe you can just weigh in on some of these topics, like anything that you improved on this year or things that you're proud of.
Well, I haven't been working on a novel exactly, but I've been working on several novelette and novella-length projects, and I feel like I personally have made a stride that for me is valuable in structuring either a non-linear or otherwise a narrative composed of multiple scenes that aren't directly linear, which is something that I have wanted to do, but I had been restricting myself earlier to short stories and to shorter novelettes, which were usually continuous in time. And I think that I have made good progress on my ability to write very dialogue heavy, conflict heavy pieces, which is something that I remember that when I started writing, I was heavy on the environmental and the atmospheric elements, and dialogue was something that I found intimidating. This was many years ago. I have since forced myself to write a lot of dialogue, but I feel like this year I have really made strides on getting in-depth, deep, long scenes, very heavy on dialogue, often heavy on conflict, and actually resolving the conflict on page. I think that I've gotten forwards with it. I wrote several particularly long scenes like this. I'm talking like 6,000 chapter lengths. And I am actually happy with the feedback that I have been receiving for these works. So I think that being able to write character interactions like this has been a valuable learning lesson for me.
Great.
I have had a hard time finishing my project, but I am working on that.
Okay, that'll be the next step. Yeah, that's the most important. Just finishing and not getting too stuck on making anything too perfect. Thank you, Otto. Did I miss anyone? Okay, I think that's all. Thanks, everybody. Let's head into our topic for today, which is we're looking at finishing and editing type of ideas. So we're asking questions like what's next after you finish, types of editing, tips and techniques, revision guides, feedback, questions, and then we'll have some time towards the end for just workshop lab or just any topic you guys want to talk about related to writing, just to round out the year and to celebrate the end of this boot camp. Maybe if we have like 30 minutes left, we'll, I don't know, do a riddle or something. I like riddles. If somebody brings in riddles, I'm always game to do them. All right. So let's go into this question of next step. What do you do immediately after finishing the draft of a novel? What do you guys think?
Read over it, fix any inconsistencies, any typos. Start going over it chapter by chapter to just see how it reads back to me. I do this a lot progressively, but after I finish a piece, after I finish a piece, I immediately plug it into some grammar checker and just make sure I haven't missed anything, any typos, anything like that.
Okay, that's one approach. Thank you for that. Becky, what's your approach?
I let it sit for a while. I mean, I don't even, for me personally, I don't even want to touch the grammar or anything like that until I know that the story's solid. So I let it sit for just a couple of weeks, 2 weeks, go and think about something else, do something else, play a game, whatever. Just kind of get it out of your head. So that when you then come back to look at it in 2 weeks, my brain's a little bit fresher. And then as I'm reading it, I can tell if, and in that next read, I'm not interested in typos or doing line editing at that stage. At that stage, I'm looking for were there big bits that were confusing? Is there bits that just didn't feel right? Did the character change at any moment? Is there a pacing issue? Did I write a whole chapter that doesn't really move the story onwards? Just kind of the really big, like, issues that can come up.
Great.
Oh, and then as part of that, I actually then do a chapter breakdown where I look at what each chapter is actually doing. That's part of my first rewrite because then I can see, I've got 3 chapters and I'm focusing on the love story. And I don't know why I said love story. I write middle grade. I don't do love stories, but 3 chapters where I'm focusing on the side story and I don't go back to the main characters. I need to fix that. So I kind of have an overview of the whole thing.
Right. So
there's no... Personally, I just wanted to add that, well, this approach I think that what you do next really hinges on how you approach story writing in the first place. Because, for example, I tend to be a very structured writer because the longer the piece that I am working on is, the more I structure every individual scene to already have. So when I set out to write, I already have a very detailed plan on what to do and so I can check in the early outline whether things make sense, whether they fall into place well with each other.
Makes sense. Yeah, there's no right or wrong answers to this. Everyone has their own approach. Some people like to dive right back in and some like to wait a little bit longer. Oh, go ahead, Becky. Did you want to respond?
I was just going to add, I'm also, I know what you mean about massively planning. I'm also a really big planner with my writing. So my first drafts tend to be quite clean because I planned all the chapters, but I still find that there might be some pacing issues, some bits where, my murder mystery started off on a starship and I had a whole chapter that was basically how the starship worked. And I'm like, I'm writing for 10-year-olds. They don't care about this. So when I would look, I just took that whole chapter out. So it's kind of, I know what you're saying, and I'm the same as well, but I still find that I have just kind of pacing is the biggest one.
Makes sense. So yeah, you have to decide for yourself how long you want to wait before you go into heavy editing on something. I myself usually almost always put it away until I outline the next thing. So I write a complete new outline for something else without having ever read the draft all the way through, and trying to really preserve that first read experience for maybe a month after finishing it. So that is at least
I can
go ahead.
I can never wait longer than a few days because I want to. I want to. It's like a mental. It's like a program running, and I want to close it. But by closing it means editing, submitting for feedback, posting online.
Right.
So I could never wait several weeks.
Yeah, everyone has their own sort of way they go into this. But the most people recommend taking at least a little time, at least give yourself a few days. But then again, I know some writers that just they open it the very next
Yeah,
day.
if a few days, yeah, a few days is fine. I usually go to sleep, finish it sometimes in the evening, then I go to sleep, and then I open it on the next day to look at it more or less fresh.
Okay, yeah, so you get right back to it, it sounds like. If that works well for you, keep doing that, obviously. I would say, just my general guidance, if you don't have an answer for this, or you don't have an opinion on this, or if you have not written a novel before, I recommend giving it at least just try at least 2 weeks, unless you're kind of obsessive and have to get back to it and faster than that. And this just will give you a little bit of mental distance to be able to try to preserve that first read experience and be able to see the flaws in it, and read it as if you were a newer reader. So often what I will do is, yeah, write that next draft of something else. Then my next steps are kind of outlined below. I will usually edit the draft from what I call draft 0, which is where you've gotten to the end, but there might still be parts missing, placeholders in the text, or parts that just aren't really working at all, and you know it, but you've had to move past them. That's draft 0. I don't even show anybody that ever. No one ever reads my draft 0. So then after taking that time away, I will go to editing that draft and spend like 4 to 8 weeks editing the novel. And that's how I get up to draft 1. So that usually also requires at least like a brief outline of the changes that I'll want to make. It won't be an extensive revision guide because I still have the story in my head pretty well, and I'm not doing extensive restructuring. This is just like finishing the draft so it becomes readable. So that takes about 4 weeks. After that, I have a draft 1. And I've written 6 novels at this point, so this is pretty consistent in terms of the process. After I have the draft 1, that's when you'll need to get your alpha readers, which will be your very first group. For this, you have to be kind of selective and not just choose anybody, especially if they are kind of not aware of what an alpha draft is, or they've not done this before. You might have to prime them a little bit and tell them what to expect, and to tell them to not expect this to be like completely perfect the way that a book off the shelf might be. And also you have to tell them what to focus on. You have to be able to guide them in terms of saying things like, well, don't focus as much on typos, like I'm looking for blank. I'm looking more for an assessment of the structure. I'm looking more for which parts you're bored or confused at. I'm looking for which parts you don't understand, things like that. So you will have to guide them a little bit. You will almost always lose half your group of alpha readers or more. So try to get twice as many as you need. And if someone drops out early, just have them let you know so that you can replace them and get another one to fill that slot. And then once they're finished, they will come back, at least the ones that finish, will come back with notes. They will give you those notes as best they can, either in written form or in a verbal session where you'll have to kind of write them down yourself. I find that a little bit easier for most people, and it's lower commitment for the readers too if you are the one taking the notes yourself. But do sort of like a group call and like go through category by category in terms of structure, dialogue, pacing, whatever topics you're concerned about in the manuscript. While they're reading, I will also usually make the re-outline, which is going to be like a new version of the outline that reflects the version of the script that you have. Then once you get that feedback and that's all ready, you can make your notes document and combine them together into the revision guide. So you'll be incorporating the notes that you want to keep and take and pasting them into your revision guide to give you a sense of where everything happens in the story, what needs to change, and exactly what that will look like. Once that's finished, you're ready for your revision pass up to draft 2. Finding readers. So you do have to do a fair amount of revising on your own before you get any readers at all. And I often, these days, am saying things even today all the time, like don't get too much feedback too early. It will paralyze. It has the chance of paralyzing you and making you feel like your story is just not working, or damaging your confidence in some kind of way and getting in the just like obstructing you somehow. So be careful with that. But once you're ready to get your readers, I mean, once your draft 1 is finished, so you've probably been working on this manuscript for, I would say, 4 to 6 months, probably minimum, before anyone has read at all. That is a great time to get those first alpha readers. When you feel that draft is readable and as good as you can make it, it's okay if there are some parts that you're like, this will have to change, or you think are not quite complete or good yet, but try your absolute best with the first draft. It's just polite to do. And you have to always do the assessment from draft 0 to draft 1 of what's working and what's coming up short, and just be honest as you can with yourself. It might be worth noting a few possible problem areas that you want to specifically ask the readers about before you go into that note session with them. Friends and family may not be the best readers, at least not the best alpha readers. People that read really critically often charge money to do developmental edits. A writers group is another option, but a high quality writers group that's consistent is hard to find. That's why we make servers like this and communities like this. There's lots of chances and opportunities to do that here. But in any case, I recommend trying to strike something of a balance between readers that you could say know exactly what they're talking about and doing. They've done critique work before. They've been alpha readers before. They're probably writers themselves, versus readers that might just offer some kind of important perspective, but may not be as savvy in terms of the publishing world. You might consider some layman readers who have maybe some connection to the source material, if you can. If the script is set in a different country or different culture, you might try to really get alpha readers from that country if you can, or of that anything, age, class. You pick, but basically the alpha readers might be a good time to mix in a few layman readers with specialty skill sets. The re-outline is going to be well, actually, let me finish with this topic first. Anybody else have ideas on how to source readers? Best readers to get? Issues when selecting readers? Okay, no more thoughts. That's right. So we'll go into re-outline. So this is just a blank new document that you make in Google Docs. You put your title and logline at the top, and it's basically like you're starting your outline over. But you are trying to create an outline for the version of the manuscript that exists now, not the initial plan. So you do have to sort of just start from scratch in terms of start with the blank page, and then you can copy and paste over scenes from your last outline as needed. But you want to leave space and make sure that you are adjusting. So you're taking out things that you've removed. You are updating and modifying scenes if you updated and modified them during the writing process, and you're trying to make this outline resemble the document that you've got. Be as thorough as you can. And then after you're done with that, that will be your re-outline. That will be a starting point for your revision guide. So that's going to be like a high-level overview of your entire flawed draft of your alpha book. After that, you're going into notes. So hopefully you've done that while your readers were reading, so you've had a little time. And now once you get that feedback, you will be able to create the notes document that will include all the responses from the different readers that you've gotten. So you can organize that by reader or by session date or something like that, however you want. At the end of the day, I'm going to always be choosing the ones I want and organizing them by chronology in the book. So things that happen earlier go first, things that happen towards the end go last. You're looking for similarities in the feedback you've received and trying to aggregate all of that into one document and using that as a guide to help you decide what's important and what's not. Stuff that you hear more than once is almost certainly something worth paying attention to. And once you have those notes documents finished, you can start to copy and paste the notes that you're going to take into your re-outline. And that's going to be your revision guide. It's going to show you exactly like a very clear plan of the manuscript as it stands with the changes that you want to make in the exact places that those changes need to be made. Along the way, I sort of will use a highlight system myself. You don't have to do this, but it can be helpful. This is a good way to keep track of your progress. So when you're going through your revision guide, you mark a section green if it's fine as is, and you could just even copy and paste that scene over from your old draft. I will include a yellow highlight around something if it needs to change or if I'm working on it, and a red highlight indicates that I plan to cut that thing or I've already cut that element. Okay, once your revision guide is done, well, let me pause. Any questions on re-outline notes document and revision guide. Okay, no questions. We'll keep going.
Wait, what do you mean by incorporating the, can you just elaborate more on incorporating notes selected from your document? Like the structural feedback you received, or
Yeah, the notes that you got from your alpha readers, that's what you're going to be moving from your notes document into your revision guide to indicate the notes that you are going to incorporate. So you pick what you think matters.
oh yeah,
You pick the
yeah.
stuff that you think will make a
Okay.
big difference, and you'll move those over into this outline document so you know what changes to make and exactly where to make them.
Okay, good, thank you.
Sure, thanks for the question. Anyone else? Other questions on revision guide? Okay. Once you finish revision guide, you can go right into the rewrite if you want to. I mean, you could give it more time if you choose to, but in any case, make your new blank file, open your old book in a separate window, start on page 1, and I would copy and paste individual scenes as needed, but don't always do that. You want to leave room for yourself to add new connective tissue between scenes if you need to, but ultimately you're going to use your previous drafts to help write the new draft. And continually update your revision guide, color coding to reflect your progress in the new draft as you go. Again, green meaning it's finished and it looks good. Yellow meaning you're still working on it or it still needs to change. By the end of this, there should be no more red sections because you've removed them or taken them all out. Okay. So after you work your way through your revision guide, which should take a month or two probably, you will then have the chance to do individual passes for specific elements that still need work. It might be just a result of you identifying those yourself, or it could be something that your alpha readers brought up, but that would be stuff like dialogue or just action, maybe just a specific character's journey, maybe just the tone. You'll be able to make adjustments just for one specific element at a time. You'll probably do 3 to 5 of those. And then you're getting close to done. There's no really one answer to, there's not really one way to know that it's done. You do your best to try to address every note. And when you think you've made it as good as you can make it, you send it out to the next group of readers. Try not, and you're pretty lucky if you can get readers who will read the same book more than once. So usually you're getting different groups for beta. And in beta, it's okay to include more layman readers that maybe not as attuned to the world of publishing. You're going to just repeat this process. You go from beta to, you can do more rounds of reads if you need, but you do that until you feel you're not getting notes that will improve it anymore. For the most part, I recommend doing about 3 drafts, maybe 4 or 5 at the absolute most. I would say not to do more than 6 or 7 drafts if you're not getting paid for something. At least if you're approaching this as a career you want to have and not just a hobby or an artistic pursuit. It's very difficult to tell when you're totally done, but you gotta kind of follow your instincts here. I would do 2 rounds of reads and then do your absolute best in the next draft, and you can call it quits there pretty safely. Okay, anyone else have any thoughts on how to know when this manuscript is done?
I just want to reiterate, you don't. You don't. And I think that just as an anecdote, you mentioned what I was going to mention here with Aaron Sorkin, but Victor Hugo, who was a fantastic author of Les Mis and Hunchback of Notre Dame, wrote Hunchback of Notre Dame in 6 months. And he was like, hey, I want to fix it. And it's considered, and that book literally changed the face of that cathedral, whereas the cathedral matched the description of what Victor Hugo wrote when it didn't do that before. They literally built the facade to match Hugo. It wasn't the other way around. So that guy, who was buried next to Napoleon Bonaparte, felt the need to edit his work too.
Yep. Really common to see this from artists of all kinds. So you'll never really know. You give it your best shot and you move on. Go ahead.
I also find it interesting, just to say, just because you think your book's done, you get an agent, their editor will then have suggestions to you. And then you get to a publisher, their editors will have suggestions for you. So just be prepared that if you are wanting to do this as a career, like the big change for me, as I've said already, was my murder mystery was set on a starship, and they've told me starships for middle grade don't sell, not unless it's a space opera. So changed the setting. They didn't like just tell me just do it and I'll leave you on your own. The editor and the mentor, we had a meeting where we talked about different ideas. I went with underwater because I really liked that one. So then I went away, created the setting, came back, had a meeting with them where I presented the idea and they loved it. Went away, wrote an edit of it with this new setting in. They said they love it and they want more of it. So now that's what this edit is. And hopefully this is my last edit before like the fine tuning, line edits. But just be prepared that within the industry, editors are on your side. They want what's best for you. They know the market. So if you're wanting, it's different if you're self-publishing or if you're, although even self-publishing, I still say still get an editor, at least for the line edits, because they're very good at like spotting the sticky words. But if you're self-publishing or doing it as a hobby, fine, whatever you like. But if you're looking at getting into the industry, be prepared that they might want you to change character names because your character name is too similar to a character name of a similar author that's got I don't know, near you in the alphabet. That's happened to a friend of mine, where literally one of her characters had the same name to an author who would be next to her on the bookshelf. So she had to change the character name because that author had gotten there first with that name. Little things like that. So just be aware, and be open. And if there's something you don't want to change, just be honest and tell them why. And yeah, but being open, I think, is a really good idea. I just find it interesting just how much, like you say, Connor, write a few drafts. And you don't want to spend ages perfecting something. It's got to be really good to go out. But, then they will want changes themselves. So just, yeah, it's interesting.
Thanks for that. Okay, so we've touched on these different types of editing. Most of the time you're going in this order. The developmental being the biggest changes, analysis of the story. So that's going to be structural and determining which parts of the book are working in terms of pacing. So structure and pacing. Where do the important things happen and how long do we spend doing those things? That's usually the first type to start with because the other types of editing are going to be contingent on you having a really strong base of prose to be working from. And without that, you run the risk of doing a bunch of little changes, then realizing a whole section doesn't work, and now you've wasted all that time. So it's just the most efficient way to do it, starting with the biggest changes and working your way down to the smallest ones. Line editing would be analysis of the prose itself, trying to make the sentences as clear as possible, so emphasizing clarity. Also, perhaps making sure that they are as aesthetic as you want them to be, that they are as beautiful as you want them to be. And then finally finishing with proofreading, which will be grammar, punctuation, and sentence structure. As well as continuity errors like the character was wearing a green shirt in that scene, they should be wearing a green shirt in the next scene as well. We don't have to go into way too much detail on this. This is our pizza party day, so I don't want to give you guys too much homework to look at, but I think we understand that some of the basic principles of line editing and making the prose better are going to be get more specific, get more concrete with the dialogues, or with not just dialogue, but with description. You want to use the right words and just the right amount of words. You don't want to be using too many words. You want to do, when possible, like generally it is considered stronger writing to stay in the active voice unless there's a specific reason you've chosen passive. Passive has all kinds of uses. There can be a deliberate application of the passive voice, for instance, to obfuscate uh, the person carrying out an action, or to sort of remove, like distance the person carrying out the action in some way, or to conceal them. But usually, if there's not a good reason not to, stay in the active tense to create that impact. Watch out for problems in the writing, like false starts or garden path sentences. We can often lose certain words that add too much of a filter between the speaker and the listener, or the writer and the reader, so to speak. Saying things like, there are writers out there who are desperate for pithy advice. What you're really saying is writers are desperate for pithy advice. We're trying to take the slack out of sentences and take out all the false starts and all of the unnecessary stops. We're not going to do all these exercises right now, but this is just like an example I often give. You'll see this in screenplays sometimes, or novels too, but like I see this more in screenplays. He stands up from the ground and gets to his feet. Oh, so you mean he stood? Like, how many words there were not necessary? That you've already communicated the idea. The rest of the words are just filler. So you got to watch out for those sentences that create redundancies. And sometimes once you have all your editing done, once you have all the grammatically correct stuff, like it's as correct as you can make it, you've gone through and you've, with a fine-tooth comb, you're on like that last pass through your book. I recommend this. I like this advice here. Just take risks, mess stuff up a little bit. Just try stuff in weird ways. Like you can bend the rules a little, like especially in experimental or literary writing. That's a huge part of the point, is to sort of show us what's possible with language. And so you can do that by just doing your thing, like just write in a way that only you would. Experiment, mess around with words, make up a new word. These things can be fun. It's part of the joy of reading. You're not always like, you might get docked for it by some readers. They might say, I didn't get this, or I didn't like this, but there are other readers that might respond very well to seeing something new and different. And this is how you kind of like can go on to create a stronger sense of your voice, is by not always following the rules exactly. Of course, we spend most of the time in like formal education classes in academia we're focusing on all the ways you should follow these rules, because then once you know them, then you can dance around them and make a whole show out of it. I hope that makes sense. Some people never seem to get over that. That idea that like, why are we learning all these rules if the best writers don't seem to follow all the rules? Maybe you guys have seen comments like this on this server and things like this pretty often.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's part of any artist or any type of art, right? Like it's more than just writing. It's no matter whether you're learning painting or music, anything like this. You could look in the kitchen of a famous chef, and sometimes it'll be a mess, right? And you're like, well, why does he have to not put his knives away the way I have to put my knives away? It's like, because showing you how to put the knives away is an effort to get you to that point where you can cook like that. And once you can cook like that, well, you kind of show us where to put the knives. I hope that makes sense. Go ahead.
Because if you are ignoring the rules instead of intentionally breaking them, then you need to know the rules first, to understand what purpose they play, and to break them for a reason rather than just somehow mucking about.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It can seem just like a mistake if it feels like it wasn't done with intention. For instance, this idea of act structure. Like some people are like, I hate structure. Why can't I have a long first act? You can just write a long first act, but you have to really commit to that and do a lot with that, and make sure that that first act is just as entertaining and interesting and gripping as the rest of the movie. So yeah, feel free to do something different. You just have to prove that you can do it in a gripping way. Dakota,
for example, my fantasy novel draft has a very. Sorry, was somebody speaking?
No, go ahead, Anna. Go ahead, Anna.
Well, I just wanted to say that I have a really long build-up part, because it is full of character interactions that will later come into play and be particularly important because it is a very character-driven piece. So sometimes you can have a lot of build-up for very good reason, even if the novel seems particularly slowly paced in the beginning. I mean, for me personally, that is not an issue. That's not something that I take issue with.
Okay, thank you for that. I heard a couple other speakers. Maybe it was Becky next.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and also it's crucial to know the rules within your genre that you can't break. So, for example, I always give the romance with a capital R example. If they don't get together at the end, you haven't written a romance, you've written a drama. There's expectations. If you're writing a murder mystery, we need to know who solved it at the end. And that, um, if you break that, well, certain ones you can't break it. Like you just can't. Like the romance, like middle grade. I write middle grade. We're teaching kids about how books are formatted. So doing too much breaking in middle grade isn't a good idea because they don't really understand how books are formatted yet. So, that's a good idea to try. And if you're writing a chapter book, though, you need to actually have chapters. It's kind of in the name, things like that. But I know that, for example, Dakota gets really annoyed with a film that's set up as a murder mystery that breaks the rules. He knows what I'm referring to. But yes, you got to know the like there's some rules you just cannot break, or if you do, you're not writing that genre. You know.
For sure. Thank you for that. Dakota, did you want to say anything? All good if not. Not to put you on the spot.
No. I was like, I'm good. Yes.
Okay. I thought I heard
Say
I heard
that.
a couple speakers a minute ago, so I wasn't sure if you were one of them.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay. I like this quote you shared as well, though. So, C.S. Lewis quote about not saying infinitely when you mean very, otherwise you'll have no words left when you want to talk about something infinite. Yeah, this reminds me of a bit. I think it was a stand-up comedian I saw one time who had a bit that was like, when someone's like, wow, these chips are awesome. It's like, are they? What are you gonna see when you say? What are you gonna say when you see the face of God? Because you've just used awesome on chips. So now, like, what have you got left, right? So try to be precise with those words. Um, thank you for that. So let's go. I guess we're wrapping up with our last couple slides here, talking about this idea of taking risks. Oh, welcome also, Nacho. We are heading into the final stretch. It's almost time for the pizza party, or the Oreo pizzas, I guess, if that's what we have here. Let's obviously scratch that date. On track to finish, I guess will be the question. Anybody else, feel free to use this time now to ask for any extra help or questions that you've been working on in terms of your writing, things you're trying to improve at. Maybe issues today. Go ahead.
I wanted to potentially get feedback on the second part of the draft I sent yesterday, and I did implement your advice on setting up the scene that we are in the courtyard in the bath. So maybe I would like to hear about whether you think that the way that it is set up now on the first page works.
Okay, sounds
Let me
good.
send the link in draft. Let me send the link in the stream chat.
Okay, thanks for that. Anyone else?
I'm gonna head off now if we're going into the lab time.
Okay.
Just because it's 9 o'clock, so it gets quite late for me,
Sounds
and
good.
I have an early start tomorrow. So thank you, Connor.
Thank you. See you next time.
I'm sure I'll see you. I'm sure I'll see you before, but if I don't, happy Christmas. Oh, happy holidays. You're American. Sorry.
All good. We'll see you next time. Thanks.
See you later. Bye.
All right. Anyone else? Any questions we can get to before we look at these pages from Otto?
I really just have one question, which is the thing that I'm trying to really improve on is and I'm trying to find the right word for it, but I guess um it's not spatial awareness, but it's kind of like I guess that's kind of the only way to kind of put it. When you are in a very, very close POV and you are in a new space, right? And you are with that character, but you also have to describe the space as they see it. So the question, or rather the struggle is that I want to describe the space that they're in first and then get into, you know, everything else. But I don't necessarily start with, solve this, like just let me just describe the space first. Um, but I've come to realize that that is not difficult, but is a bit too uh, shall we say I'm breaking my POV without meaning to,
I see.
basically.
Okay. Otto, did you have a thought on this?
I wanted to ask if it's sensory input that Dakara means, as in the sensory elements of the scene that the character finds themselves in.
Was that what you were referring
Is
to,
that the
Dakota?
term? Is that the term that you were looking for?
I guess so. Yeah. I was, because my problem is that I want to start omniscient, but then I go into like a closer third.
I see. Okay. Well, a couple things. To begin with, I find having that close third perspective almost always gives you a good starting point or tells you like what the first thing to describe in any new space would be. Because you would normally go in the order of like when someone first goes to a new place, what is the first thing that they will notice? Well, something endangering them, right? Imagine a clown is jumping at you with a knife. Well, okay, that's going to be the first thing that person describes about the room. They're not going to tell you what color the carpet is. So start from that sense of urgency. Is there anything in the room that is drawing my attention or like it's something that would demand a lot of attention, right? So start with that. When he entered the room, the first thing he saw was the clown with the knife. So that's going to be your like the center point of that description, probably, or like your way in. Then after that, if there is nothing that's like demanding or grabbing that attention, you would probably go into the most the most sensory detail that's there, right? If we go into a space and there's a really loud noise, then that might be where you start, right? Like the sound of machinery was overpowering as he stepped into the factory. Or if there's some terrible smell, maybe you start with that. He opened the door and a wave of the smell hit him before you even describe what's in the room.
I
Go
literally
ahead.
have that. I literally have that. I have the first scene as essentially opening with the stench of alcohol is overbearing as a guy steps into a tavern.
Right,
This
right.
place, just to say, this place sucks.
Right. Yeah, you pick the most overpowering sensory input and start with that. That can usually be a nice way in. If you're not sure what would draw the most attention or what to start the description with, you can begin your process at least by writing sort of that more omniscient, video game D&D style description of the space. You could even be as clinical as you want. You can say like the market is 85 by 55 feet across. There's a well that is directly in the center. There's a barn in the north part. On the east part, there's a coop of chickens. On the south part, there's a bunch of cows in a small circle. Like you can start with just that and then ask, how is your character entering and moving through that space? And maybe even draw it out if you need to. And from there, ask which sensory inputs would be the most overpowering and obvious to them as they move through it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So yeah, draw maybe even if you're having trouble picturing the scene geography, just doing a little Photoshop or MS Paint, like top-down kind of map of the area can be really useful as well. Anyone else have any tips or ideas on balancing sensory input and scene geography and describing the setting?
I just wanted to add that if you can't decide what to mention first, then it's good to think about what your point of view character considers important, because between different value systems and different priorities for different characters. Somebody who is materialistic might notice, oh, there's a guy wearing a gold chain on his neck, he must be rich and important. Whereas somebody who is interested in the local architecture, perhaps somebody who is a craftsman or an artist, might focus on seeing an unusual, I don't know, an unusual house facade and remark on that as the most important element of the scene, and not pay much attention to the guy with the gold chain because he doesn't care.
Sure. Or your
So I think
characters.
this is good, and this is also good for keeping your narration and your scene setting anchored to the character, because you are informing it by the character's own personality and traits and priorities.
Right, right. Even just imagining your character is really hungry. The first time they go into a room,
Yeah.
you probably start with what's the food in the room? Like that's the first thing you might describe to kind of mirror their perception. Nasha, did you have an idea you wanted to share?
No, I think you guys already had some great advice. Just, I guess maybe one thing I would say is like, if you find, because this is a first draft, it may take a while to kind of really figure out, how does this character see the world? How do they think? How do they, what do they focus on? But it could really help if you find maybe some other novel that has, is sort of written in that level of detail that you're kind of going for. Maybe there's another character, the narrator of whatever novel X, that it's like, it's not like you're exactly like copying that other novel, but just sort of like, you know, um, studying how that other author pulls off the thing that you're kind of going for, right?
Definitely. Thank you for that. Yeah, you can use as many brushstrokes as you want. Like a mountain, like think of those painters doing a painting of a mountain and some birds. A mountain can be some incredibly detailed labor of art that you spend like getting this, you spend so long getting the glint of sunlight off the snow on the evergreen leaves just right. You could spend years on that. Or a mountain can be like a just two quick little lines. A bird can be the same thing, right? Think of you could spend so long drawing all the little feathers on the bird, or you can just draw a little squiggle in the air. And some artists can make that look just like a bird too. So you're sort of doing a similar thing with your prose. You have to decide how many brushstrokes do I need? Can you just say like alpine forest, cold morning, cold, hot coffee, and then we kind of see it? Or do you want to, are you the kind of writer that would really go into depth on that? It's up to you. All right. Any other questions before we look at pages? Okay, we'll go right to pages then. Let's look at the left half of Leave. Okay, and this was not a novel, but a short story that I read the first half of yesterday in the Friday lab. So we'll finish it off today. I think it was here that we stopped. Okay. So for those that missed the first half, Otto, do you want to give a quick recap of the first half?
This is a short story set in 1939 Bavaria. A young soldier comes home on leave after being wounded in Poland, and he's preparing to attend his older sister's wedding. But even though he got home, he doesn't particularly feel at home. He doesn't understand why his mother and his sisters are so worried about the wedding. And he isn't able to talk to his mother about his older brother's death. And essentially they are existing in some kind of stagnation and silence between each other. So
All right,
I would
thank
say
you for
that
that.
that's the emotional backbone of the first part.
Right. And he's gotten home, he's taken a bath, but he can tell things are not the same. All right, let's go into the second half. Okay, and he's going to the sister's wedding, I think. I wear my uniform to
Mhm.
the ceremony with boots polished to shine anthracite black and my crisp new field cap on, the cross in the middle for those wounded in the fray on the breast. Though my arm is still in a sling and I'm still as stiff as a church pillar. The doors are open. There are many people inside, too many. Disconcerted, I shuffle to the back of the crowd and try not to stand out, despite towering ahead over everyone else and then some, to fade into the shadows and out of view of the husband's family. Of the husband's family. The groom's family?
Sorry?
Who's the husband? You mean the groom?
Yeah. Oh,
Oh.
yeah, that's probably the better word.
Yeah, husband means they're already married, usually, but I think I have that right.
Yeah.
All right. On the front pew is an empty spot that no one occupies. And that might be the one left for the brother, I think. The
Yes.
the bells ring like a cannonade. Then I have to bring Katrin to the altar, not at a march, slowly, leading her by the arm and down the long line that feels endless despite knowing how small the church is, how few steps it would take to pass all the wedding guests. That was a long sentence, but well constructed. The cap shields me from looking the priest in the eye, yet I still feel that he is judging me and pitying me at once. A pity I want to have nothing to do with. I think you probably want to lose these words. A pity I want nothing to do
I
with.
do. Yeah, that's better. That's better.
Nor, one second. Pitying me at once. A pity I want nothing to do with, nor with indulging in some wasteful sorrow. Okay, nor do I want to have anything to do with indulging in some wasteful sorrow. I think I get it. It's a little complex. Let me just read it one more time. I want nothing to do with, nor with indulging in some ways. I think it's grammatically correct. It's just sort of hard to parse. Okay, we stop. Katrin's hand slips away. Oscar takes it. I sit down next to the empty seat. I wouldn't be able to repeat a word of what was said afterwards, even if a gun was held to my head. And they kiss, and then at last it's all over. Um, we all pick ourselves up, of course, to move away for the festivities. There will be a lot of drinking and a lot of food. There will be dancing. They'll bring out the beer and the schnapps and the young pig roasted for the wedding feast. The young folks will kiss and grope each other, and the old folks will talk of their youth. But I don't kiss and I don't dance, though I can eat and drink and eat and drink. Oh, sorry. Though I can eat and drink some and smoke all throughout the evening. Cigarettes and cigars that stroke the night with their smoke like spindly fingers, each time burning down faster than before. Each time, each each time he smokes one burning down faster than before. What I would
Yeah.
almost think it would say each one burning down faster than before, like each individual.
That could, yeah, that could work too.
Yeah,
That I think that actually works. That actually works better. Yeah, I will change it. That's
right.
good. That's a good point. Yeah.
Okay. Inside, the village girls flock around me like shy birds with too many questions, and I find it hard to focus on their words when they ask whether I'm a corporal already, though yet short of 20 years, and how admirable it is not only to enlist but to get a medal this young. When they wonder oh, is this the same sentence?
Yes.
Okay, when they wonder how tall I have grown since my last leave, or when they ask about how I was injured, an answer is even harder to come by and rarely given. Okay, got it. So this is the topic of, I mean, this almost seems like this could be two paragraphs to me just because the topics are kind of different. The first one is we're going away to the festivities. We describe the eating and drinking and kissing, and then we sort of transition to outside. So that to me feels like this is a good spot to break the paragraphs.
This yeah, this could be a good idea. Thank you.
Um, okay, so now I have, so now that they're separate, I wonder also if
I wanted to intentionally keep the sentences in the wedding feast part longer and kind of more frantic feeling, like
yeah,
to really encapsulate that dissociation of being in a particularly busy place but not feeling like you are really in there or not connecting with anybody who's present.
right. I think I get what you mean. I wonder if even semicolons might, like when you do a long list of stuff like this, then sometimes semicolons separate them out. Um, it, I would have to look it up to be sure, but I think that might work. In any case, I think it works okay as is. Let's go to this end of this paragraph here. It's all the same blather as the old folks that hadn't served in the Great War spout with pride about fighting for the fatherland when I know. Wait, hang on. Let me zoom it in a little bit. Okay, when they ask how I was injured, let's start there. And the answer is even harder to come by and rarely given. Okay. It's all the same blather as the old folks that hadn't served in the Great War spout with pride about fighting for the fatherland, when I know damn well they've never fired a shot at a living man. Okay, I got it. It just there was it almost felt like a parent.
complex
Yeah,
sentence.
just there's some nested clauses in there. Another bloody abstraction. What good is it to them that we fight and bleed and conquer those farmers and fools for whom did France die? What does it mean to serve one's country at all? How the hell can war be compared to a hike in the woods? Can cowherds even imagine a 75 mm shell exploding right in front of their eyes? And what am I to tell them? So I nod, and I finish my beer and I refill my stein again, and I leave shortly later to. I leave shortly later? That feels right.
I think maybe after would make more sense here.
Yeah, I think so. To smoke another cigarette in the night, and no one stops me. Katrin is wedded, Franz is buried, and I'm alone. The shadows of the mountains loom over me in the night, and above them the stars, but they're not an enchanting sight as they were when we were. They're not an enchanting sight as they were when we were boys. Now, though, I'm not hungry or cold. They're gray and no longer lure me. They simply are. I exist beneath them, yet not a part of the village or the night. I reckon I never will again. I never will be again? Wait, 1 second. I exist beneath them, yet not a part of the village or the night. I reckon I never will what? Are we missing a word?
Well, I think maybe it would be more comprehensible if it was never will be again. As
Yeah,
in will not be a part of the village, of the company, of
right.
the people here.
Right. I think it's because that's like an implied part of the structure
Yeah.
there. So I think that you would need the word be to make it make sense. There you go. Okay. And I reckon I never will be part of the village again. I wind the rifle to my chest as one would a wife. I'm not sure I understand.
Essentially, that's while the other people are dancing with each other and getting married, he's hugging his gun.
Is wind the
Like
right word to use?
he's sorry?
Maybe wind is not the right word to use. Because to me, so when you wind something, you like wind up a toy, for instance, you like twist it, right? I'm having trouble seeing how are we winding a rifle? He's like embracing it, like hugging it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, maybe embrace is the term to use then. I would try a couple different other words there. Or
Maybe
even just
something like
even just
hold.
I hold, yeah, hold. Even just I hold it to my chest.
Yeah.
That would work too. Really simple.
But I wanted to put in the motion of embracing it without making it sound overly romantic. So I didn't want to use the word embrace because it felt emotionally charged in a way that I don't find useful for this story. So
Hold is probably the term then.
maybe hold would be better.
Yeah, because hold can have a very plain normal meaning or that sort of like more intimate meaning somehow. So I think that creates just the right image. Okay, quietly in the dawn hours when the light has just begun to creep over the horizon and turn a pale shade of blue, while the wedding guests are mostly asleep. Oh, we're in present tense now. Or were we always?
We were always in present tense.
We're always in present tense. I'm going crazy.
I always write in present tense.
Okay, my mistake. For some reason I thought at the beginning we were in past. Yeah, I guess you started at the very beginning. It was sort of past.
Yeah, because he recalls it. He recalls it in the past. So
that's right. So you actually you started in past, then we reached the present time, and then for the rest of it we were in present. My mistake. I just forgot that you did that. Okay. Well, I'll read the last paragraph again. Quietly in the dawn hours when the light has just begun to creep over the horizon and turn a pale shade of blue. While the wedding guests are mostly asleep, I pack up my things. I take my helmet and my rifle. I take the morning train to Munich, and then I'm gone. All right. Nice work. This is him heading back to the front without even saying goodbye, it seems like. Just doesn't feel like he can stay, that he belongs anymore. It reminds me of the chapter in All Quiet on the Western Front, where the main character goes on leave and sort of has similar feelings to this.
Yeah, it did inspire me. It did inspire me to some extent.
It's a great book.
I wanted to get your feedback precisely on the part where you are now, on what I edited here.
Oh, the stop? Okay.
On the first page.
All right.
After the second paragraph on the first page, which I had altered to fit your advice to situate it immediately in the present. I would like to hear if I would like to see if it works now better to ground the events.
Okay. So this is just after he catches us up on returning home from the train. He mentions the injury, and then okay, we go right into the second paragraph. The days are still warm. The silhouettes of roofs outlined against graying mountaintops look the same as when I left. I'm not sure.
Is the head necessary?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah. All right.
A bath is drawn in the courtyard of our house. In the evening, Lizelle helps me wash my hair. She even brings a pair of scissors to trim where the bandage does not get in the way. To trim it with a bit. Right, I get it. Okay. Katrin, the second youngest, is getting married tomorrow. Her husband-to-be is a carpenter and 10 years her senior, but he has a workshop of his own and money to spare, and he'll put her up like a burgher's painted wife. She's going to wear my aunt's
this
dress.
is the part.
Go ahead.
This is the part from yesterday. So basically, I cut it up. I edited and edited some parts to immediately ground us, and then we continue after we. Then we continue with
I think it works way
my
better.
uniform. It was way better.
I think so. Do you think so?
I don't find it hard to follow. Any feedback from others who were familiar perhaps with the previous version and had taken a look at it before?
Anyone else?
If you think that it improves readability to ground it like this, then I think I am happy.
Okay. Yeah, maybe other folks weren't paying as much attention last time, but that's okay. We can wrap up here. And anything else you wanted to ask about, or things you wanted to focus on, sections you wanted to emphasize?
I wanted to ask overall about the pacing and the tone and emotional impact, and what impression it made on you as a reader. If there's anything that I should amend specifically in these areas.
I think it's coming through pretty well. I mean, it's a pretty simple story. It's not really based as much on, I mean, it's very internal for a lot of it. It's mostly your character just reflecting and thinking on things, and I think you've captured that feeling well. The idea that he's so distant from this, he can't come back home. He's separated himself from all of this in a way. Um, the it's certainly a message that I personally have read it's not like the first time I've ever read a story like this. I guess because almost every soldier coming home has feelings kind of like this in some ways, right? Like they're always going to have an element of familiarity to each other, just because this realistic.
Yeah, it's just that it's an often repeated topic of alienation and separation from the civilian life. I specifically wanted to talk about I specifically wanted to talk about the separation from family matters and how their concerns suddenly seem irrelevant and small. If that got through as maybe a new element brought into the topic, you think that the birth perspective on it was interesting?
Yeah, I think that works well. I might also ask, so do you see would you want the effect of this to be more along the lines of the reader is do you want the reader to feel sad at the end, or kind of like hollow, numb, and empty? I guess they're kind of they're like linked emotions, right? But your character feels like he seems more numb to it all. He's shell shocked into just blank of a person. Is that the feeling you're trying to make the reader feel too?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Kind of, yeah.
Because I would say the difference.
It's the feeling that I'm trying. It's the feeling that I'm trying to get across on the page. Hence why I am avoiding any strong emotional judgment and like expression of things like, I don't know, sadness, direct mourning.
Yeah, I think you've done that well, especially because this is clearly a family that doesn't really talk about their feelings very much. And the difference I think between sad and hollow, numb, and empty is maybe even that sense of it would come across as sadder if your character started thinking maybe I can reconnect with all of this. Like maybe I can find a way to care about these things again. He actually really tries to and then fails at it. Whereas, but that it seems like what you're going for more is he comes into it just so numbed to all of this, so messed up by the war that he doesn't even like he
I
doesn't
mean,
even
he's
think he
not,
can, right? He doesn't even try to really
yeah,
make it work.
like it really, the behind the scenes is that he is so particularly shocked by the absurd reaction to of his family to himself returning from war and his brother dying, and he doesn't understand his family's reaction. And instead of trying to understand it, he basically blanks out and decides it's not worth it. I don't have anything to talk to them about.
Right.
Basically, there's some family issues background behind these characters, and it is essentially a culmination of him coming to the conclusion that he has nothing to and talk about with his family.
Right. And when he goes back to the front, does he feel like he'll have more of a family there, or will that be just as bad?
Yeah, he's um. It's hard to say whether it feels more like having a family, but certainly having a place where he is accepted and perhaps more appreciated, more desirable, more useful. I think more useful is the best word for that.
Right.
Yeah, he feels like he feels like he will be more useful, and by that be given more purpose by being at the front.
Okay. So it is sort of a comforting thing to he's going back to where he matters.
Yeah. He's going back to where he has gotten used to being.
Okay. So yeah, that I guess
It
that's
just
more
it
homesick.
just sucks that it's the army.
Right, exactly. The Wehrmacht, I assume, because he is a German
Yeah.
soldier.
Yeah.
All right. Well, nice work. I think you've hit your emotional goals for the story.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that it needs more revisions, or is this perhaps ready to offer to some magazines and stuff? Because I had already gone through my first round of editing with this before submitting it. And this was basically my attempt to get a second round of reviews and line editing down from some professional people.
I think it's pretty close. I mean, I would get a few more readers than just me, but I think you're almost there.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you very much. This has been valuable for me, and thank you for your input.
Sure. Thanks for sharing. All right. We've got a little time left. If anyone else has questions, pages that they want to look at, brainstorming for your next book, problems you're trying to solve in the text.
I don't think I have anything quite reader worthy yet, but I just wanted to chime in and let you know that we are listening.
Great. All right. Good to hear. Thank you for that. We can wrap up if no one has anything else. We do have lab later today. It's at a different time today than usual. Lab today is from 3 to 5, right, Nacho? So that would be another chance if you have projects to work on.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nacho. Did I hear me?
1 hour earlier than it used to be.
Right, 3 o'clock Pacific. Megan, did I hear a question?
I do have something. I do have something small to share. It's not necessarily 100% writing related. It's writing adjacent, which is I wanted to see if you guys how you guys felt about how the illustrations that I did fit in with I put them into the text. Just wanted to see if you thought that it had a nice feel or if it was too distracting.
Illustrations. Okay, we'll take a look.
Sure, I'll just send a link in the chat because it's not really meant to be a there's 5 chapters. I don't expect you to read any of it. It's just the illustrations. There's illustrations on page 1, page 9, page 10. And then if you jump to the chapter that says cloth, there's an illustration on that. And then so there's an illustration at the very top
Okay.
of
So
page 1. Yeah.
the snowflake here.
So it's just illustrations really.
Cool. And you drew all
But
this?
I was hoping. Yeah.
Nice. And this is, which book is this?
This is Ravenstone Manor.
That's right. Okay. All right. So we got the snowflake, page 1. What were the other ones? Here's
Yeah, and then
9.
page 9, yeah. Yeah. We have the Chevy Malibu.
All right. And the house.
And then
Good.
the house. And then if you skip ahead to the chapter that says quoth on the left, at bottom, chapter 5.
Oh, a line art raven. Nice.
And then above that, there's another one. One page above that.
And the famous cat, of course. A Maine Coon, if I remember.
So I wanted them to be simple and not too distracting, but I was hoping that they would sort of give it a little something special. I mean, granted,
personally
I know
love
the publisher might not.
Yeah, that's the issue is that if you're traditionally publishing, you won't be able to really include this. But if you're self-publishing, you can include whatever you want. You can do drawings on every page. There's no real rules, I don't think, except maybe in certain self-publishers that are like text only. But I think almost all of them you can do it. I was that all of them, or is there one more? That was all of them.
Yeah, that's it. No, I only did 5 as a mock-up to see how they might sit in the piece.
Gotcha. Okay. And your question is, do people think they add to the book overall, or if it would
Yeah,
maybe
do you
not be
think
worth
they added to the as a whole, or
I
the
think
impression of the
yes.
thing?
I mean, in my view, yes. I mean, but let's hear from everyone else. What do you guys think?
I think you could do some more things with line weight, because like this, sometimes you have a lot of texture, and in some places the texture is very uniform. So it kind of, when you are looking at it from even a little further away, for example, with the cat, it kind of really blends all in together. So I think you could benefit from maybe varying your line weight and your texture some more.
What do you think of the overall idea of having the illustrations, though? If we're just kind of asking, like, do you think they would fit in the book?
I think it's nice. I think it's nice. I am, as an illustrator myself, I support illustrated books.
There you go. Thank you for that.
I would
think
like
it
to have more
could start.
jobs.
I think it definitely could get a good go back in and do a bit of a calligraphic line to it and weight certain areas.
Yeah.
That definitely makes sense to me, particularly the cats most.
Maybe even just putting slightly more texture down on the foyer and central tower in the manor, and maybe making the outline more visible, distinguishing in line weight between the bushes and the house. Maybe that will help it, I think.
Makes sense. Any other thoughts on just the overall idea of having the illustrations in the manuscript?
I think readers are always going to thank you if you add a visual. It just gives us an extra effortless way of enjoying your story. And if you wanted to go even going off of what was said before by Odo, I mean, you can even do more of this. Like you can color it or anything, and I think readers really appreciate that. It's like a little break from the work of reading.
Yeah, Vonnegut
Well, I
books
mean,
have
the way the modern
things like this.
printing business works now, they don't have to make a special die for the illustrations, but if you go color, then you do exponentially increase the cost of printing.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Anyone else?
Cool. Thank you for taking the time with that. I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, I think they're good. I think if self-publishing, definitely keep them.
Cool.
All right. Anyone else? Questions, thoughts, issues?
Oh, I did have one question. So this is the last of this boot camp. Do we know when we're starting up again, or?
Good question. Nacho, do we know when we're starting novel boot
Yeah.
camp again? Do we?
Yeah. I think in January, possibly early February, but sometime pretty soon. And we did ask a couple people about this. Like there was some interest. I know from Joyce, she was saying if we were to do it, um, so possibly at like later in the day on Saturday, but then some people from Europe wouldn't be able to attend. So, we have like a lab and a sort of a boot camp slot on Saturday. So yeah, but I guess it would probably be like late January, I think, when we would start the next one. We want to try to get people to sign up and make sure we have enough people who are, planning to go through and write the whole novel. And also, do you guys have any suggestions, like thoughts, something that we could improve that might help, encourage people to finish their novel during the boot camp? Maybe Connor
Absolutely.
needs to be a tougher, a sort of boot camp, drill sergeant, or I don't know. Maybe another thing we're talking about is maybe even, if you finish X milestone and you turn it in, you get some coins or something. So I don't know. What thoughts on helping
You know
encourage
what
people
you
to finish?
could do is have someone else be the drill sergeant. So Connor's like the bad
Good,
cop.
good cop, bad cop. Or maybe it's just, but maybe the bad cop is also Connor, but it's just like he's using a different voice and we don't realize it.
That's fine. Yeah, I could just like swap characters. That would be fine. One
If
second.
you could have like a hat, like a fake mustache.
You guys are gonna like it when I get to hide. Wait right here. Come back with like a hat and a goatee. Yeah, okay. That's what people want, really?
Oh my god. Could be
We'll
like
try anything.
like a puppet show or something.
I have made
But
puppet
yeah.
movies before.
Okay. So yeah, you have the relevant experience.
There you
Um,
go.
so I think the timing wise, it is a little bit, I think weekends are always a little bit of a challenge for people, right? But I mean,
Are they?
I think this time is okay. If you did later, that would also be fine. If you did earlier, I probably wouldn't wake up. So, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to the next one. So I will definitely join if you're worried about head count.
Okay, sounds good. Are weekends always a
Awesome.
challenge for everyone else?
I mean, so we tend to get more turnout on the weekend events than the ones during the week. But we
Okay.
have a suggestion box here if anyone has ideas for, ways to improve.
I'd be interested in taking part if it was over the weekend. I cannot guarantee my availability during the week because these things are quite late for me, and even though I am a night owl, I cannot guarantee that I will be able to be up till, I don't know, like 5 a.m. depending, because I am still searching for a permanent job, and I cannot guarantee that I will be able to stay up this late, depending on whether I am able to be on home office or whether I have to go to a studio or something in person. So yeah, I think a weekend time would be more ideal for me as well.
Okay. All right. Well, we can wrap up here if everyone has shared all the thoughts they want to share.
Sure. Also, I don't know if you guys have anything similar to this, but maybe also doing a bit of like short exercises for like actual writing time. So you make like the participants like actually practice the skills you're talking about. Would be pretty cool. But I realize like that time is a limiting factor. But just a thought.
In the boot camps, you mean? Like more exercises where
Yep.
you spend more time writing? Okay, we can do more of that.
Yes,
Thank you for that.
that'd be awesome.
All right, we'll wrap up there for now. Suggestion box linked in the chat if anyone wants to input their ideas. We have lab at 3 p.m. today. That's in just like 1 hour, isn't it, Nacho? The soonest lab we've ever done. All right, so an hour and 20. That will be for novels, scripts, or anything else. Bring your questions, topics, and up to 5 pages, please.
Or
And-
riddles.
Or riddles. I'm always up for riddles, but we'll save it for riddle corner or riddle hour.
Riddle camp.
Yes, riddle camp. All right. Thanks everybody. Hope you enjoyed the boot camp and looking forward to the next one. We'll see you then.
See you guys. So excited for it.
See
Thanks everyone.
you guys.
Bye-bye.
Looking forward
Thank you.